The heaviest travel holiday of the year arrives along with some of the worst weather in many areas. French farmers storm Paris to protest a new trade agreement. And should these trucks be regulated? On America Close Up, the tanker danger.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Reporting tonight from NBC News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. On this Thanksgiving Eve, there's new hope for the American economy. Holiday travelers are on the move, and weather in much of the country is reminding us that whatever our plans, nature will prevail. A high-powered storm dumped snow on the nation's middle, Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Missouri, Iowa, and it's headed now for the Great Lakes. Thunderstorms in the Gulf states, more rain across much of the east, and unseasonable heat in Florida. Sunny skies out west. NBC's Roger O'Neill tonight is in Denver at Stapleton Airport, where 90,000 people today were heading for a long weekend. Roger?
Hi, Tom. That's 15,000 people more than normal move through this airport on a single day. There were times today, certainly not now, but there were times today when it looked like all of Denver was trying to get out of town. Here, like the rest of the country, this is the second busiest travel day of the year. Despite the occasional delays, the weather was so good in Denver today that most people didn't seem to mind. But the lousy weather in much of the rest of the country is causing big-time headaches for many of the 28 million people on the road for Thanksgiving.
In Oklahoma, holiday travelers were urged to stay home as the season's first big snowstorm settled in there. In some rural areas where more than a foot of snow fell, the wind came along and blew it into drifts so high, road graders quit trying to clear the roads. The bad weather, which came out of Colorado Monday, didn't pick on just Oklahoma. This is Kansas City. By car, truck, and camper. That's how most Americans were traveling this year. And according to the American Automobile Association, most of those vehicles were headed to the Midwest, where all the bad weather is. Mike Marshall's been trying to get out of the snow, but he won't make it to Phoenix by the time his turkey's ready to eat.
We're running about 2 days behind. We'll be there, but we won't be there Thanksgiving Day.
Heavy rain in Alabama caused some flooding. In Georgia, it just slowed everybody down. Gary Chambliss was headed for Charlotte, where a wife, a kid, and a Thanksgiving dinner are waiting. Says the combination of bad weather and a holiday makes for dangerous travel.
People are rushing, you know, and when you're in the rush, they don't pay attention to what they're doing. You know, and it's kind of hard to stop this thing on a dime.
500,000 people today will let someone else do the driving. On the buses, about the same number of people traveling this year as a year ago. Amtrak will board nearly 100,000 passengers today. That's up a little bit. And you can put another 4 million people into airplanes, but it looks like that's going to be down this year.
According to the AAA, Tom, the skies aren't as crowded this year because people aren't traveling as far, and it's still pretty expensive to travel by air. It's a lot cheaper to travel by car. Right now, the worst delays coast to coast in Boston and Newark, 2 hours. Tom?
All right, thank you very much, Roger O'Neill, tonight. The nation's economic outlook is a good deal sunnier tonight as a result of some numbers that are out today. The economy shot up during the third quarter, the fastest rate of growth in 4 years. It's a very heartening sign of better times ahead. NBC's Jim Miklashevsky with President Bush tonight in Kennebunkport, where this was welcome but tardy news. Jim?
Tom, some White House officials are already taking credit for the good economic news. They're calling it the Bush recovery. It may give the country something to be thankful for, but it all comes too late to do President Bush any good. Bush headed for his vacation home in Kennebunkport today for a long, private Thanksgiving weekend in what may be his last trip here as president. Ironically, as Bush is packing up to leave the White House, the economy is picking up, just as he had predicted during the campaign. Today, the government reported the nation's economy grew by nearly 4% in the third quarter of this year, the best performance during the Bush presidency. And the housing industry reports the sale of existing homes soared more than 9% in October, the biggest jump in 6 years. In Little Rock, President-elect Bill Clinton greeted the news with caution, but hinted that the latest figures may cause him to reconsider plans for a quick boost to stimulate the economy.
Could have some impact on short-term judgment, but we're going to have to try to see whether basically these figures tell us anything about what's likely to happen for the next year.
Some economists warn a quick fix could do more harm than good.
If Bill Clinton moves forward with a major stimulus package, and this economy continues to grow at the rate we have seen recently, that he will add to inflationary pressure, interest rates will go up, and the recovery would be cut off.
And Senate Minority Leader Bob Dole says the latest news shows it may not be necessary.
And it indicates to me that if they don't hurry, the economy may take care of itself before they have their economic summit.
Whatever happens in the short term, Clinton said today he'll continue to work on long-term cures for such problems as chronic unemployment and the loss of the U.S. manufacturing base. Privately, Bush aides would like to tell Bill Clinton now, "I told you so." Instead, they're calling the good economic news Bush's parting gift to the Clinton administration. Tom.
Thank you, Jim. As the Bush administration leaves office, it wants to put more heat on Cuba. But the UN General Assembly says the U.S. is wrong. It's recommending other countries not join in a tighter trade embargo against Castro's communist rule. More on this story tonight from NBC's Ed Rabel.
The harsh U.S. embargo is supposed to make Cuba's economy suffer so much that Fidel Castro will either change his communist ways or fall from power, paving the way for democracy. The embargo is making Cuba and Cubans suffer, but it is also damaging the U.S. politically among some allies. Congressman Lee Hamilton, who will be chairman of the House Foreign Relations Committee, agrees that the UN vote against the embargo was a stinging rebuke.
I think the UN vote very clearly shows that we're isolated, that most of the nations of the world don't want to go along with us.
In fact, some allies are investing heavily in Cuba. Spain, in particular, erecting five-star tourist hotels on Cuba's North Shore. The allies say the U.S. has no right to stop American businesses that operate within their boundaries from selling products to Cuba.
We consider these companies American subsidiaries, but they consider them to be companies incorporated within their jurisdiction, and that we have no right to dictate trading practices to them.
Despite the UN vote, President-elect Clinton's people say the U.S. policy of tightening the embargo will not be changed when Clinton becomes president.
He feels it's important that we tighten down on the embargo and isolate Castro so that we can move towards a more democratic regime in Cuba.
But that policy toward communist Cuba, some analysts say, seems inconsistent with Clinton's position on communist China.
We have a big stake in not isolating China and seeing that China continues to develop a market economy, but we also have to insist, I believe, on progress in human rights and human decency.
But Castro has always been a thorn in America's pride, a special case. As long as Miami's exiled Cuban community, 600,000 strong, is around to remind us, analysts say, U.S. policy toward Castro is unlikely to change. Ed Rabel, NBC News, Washington.
Other news tonight, the Boston Globe now is reporting that Paul Tsongas has cancer again. The former presidential candidate left the Senate in 1984 after being diagnosed with lymphoma. Today's report says the cancerous lump in Tsongas' abdomen is treatable. Tsongas does plan a news conference for Monday. I'll be back with more news in a moment.
Does this much business can only be headed in one direction. Forward.
Oh yeah, we're gonna twist! Tater twister, big surprise! Comes in shapes, some curly fries!
Presto Tater Twister Electric Curly Cutter. Money-saving curly cuts from fresh vegetables. Spiral cuts too. Thrifty, easy fun.
Tater Twister!
From Presto.
An hour into the job, the cough and burning fever kicked in. Kevin Ross has the flu, and that calls for serious medicine. Theraflu. Strong, hot liquid relief to ease flu symptoms fast. Theraflu. Your flu misery stops here.
Violent protests in the streets of Paris today. Militant French farmers at the barricades demonstrating against the recent trade agreement between the U.S. and Europe, and feuding inside the French Parliament, where lawmakers were locked in debate. NBC's Rick Davis has more tonight.
Police under an attack of small rockets and firecrackers. It was just the beginning. Thousands of angry farmers were trying to get through the police to Parliament. They feel betrayed by the government after the European community agreed that farm subsidies would be cut and some land taken out of production. The agreement stopped the U.S. threat of a tariff war on French products, but the farmers say they were sold out to please the Americans. That led the embattled socialist government to try to get the full National Assembly to back a demand to renegotiate the agricultural agreement.
And we think that if the whole of the Assembly expresses it, then it will have more strength in international negotiations.
There are elections in 4 months. The farmers have a lot of support. Their street war went long into the night. Michel Gaffon is a reluctant warrior.
In my deep heart, I dislike violence, but today we are obliged to go this way.
His roots run deep and long in French soils. The family has been on this farm for generations.
We have got block of lands we have been farming since before the French Revolution. So maybe at the very beginning of the United States. We must carry on with our history.
Do you feel that you have been betrayed by your government?
Yes, I feel this.
Michel Gaffon and the other farmers say it is time to get rid of the socialist government. And tonight, conservatives did not vote to renegotiate the farming agreement. They abstained. The Gaullists are betting the socialists will lose the election in 4 months, and then conservatives will force a new, tougher trade agreement on their own terms. They vow the farmers will win their struggle. Rick Davis, NBC News, Paris.
In Ireland, the explosive issue is abortion. Voters decided whether Europe's most restrictive anti-abortion law should now be changed. It is the most divisive issue to confront the Irish in years. More tonight from NBC's Keith Miller in Dublin.
It has been a passionate campaign, but those who favor abortion rights have found themselves in an uncomfortable alliance with those who are anti-abortion. Both sides oppose the referendum on the ballot.
I really don't understand the whole thing.
The wording is so complex that a quarter of the people who went to the polls today said they were so confused they didn't know how to vote. Among all the ballot slips for today's general election are 3 amendments that deal with abortion. All are conservative, and one would only allow abortion if the life, but not the health of the mother, is threatened. Irish women now travel by ferry to Britain to get an abortion. An estimated 4,000 make the trip each year. Ruth Riddick has made that journey. The abortion amendment, she says, ignores the issue.
If we have a reality of abortion in Ireland, which we do, although it happens extraterritorially, we must be mature enough to take it on board ourselves.
The Irish appear to be caught between wanting to live in a contemporary society while holding on to their Catholic religious beliefs. The Athenry cattle auction may be no place for a lady, but there's Darina Costello, a candidate on the anti-abortion ticket. Darina, a single mother, accuses Irish politicians of avoiding the abortion issue for fear of losing votes.
So people are afraid of the abortion issue. That's why people don't know what they're talking about. It's a smokescreen out there.
It is said that in this overwhelmingly Catholic country, no one enters the polling booth alone.
Predicting the result of the vote is difficult, but clearly Ireland's attempt to resolve the abortion issue through a constitutional amendment will not end this nation's deep moral conflict with the issue. Keith Miller, NBC News, Dublin.
In this country, fetal tissue, that's tissue from aborted fetuses, is off limits to medical researchers for now. Today, however, top editors of the New England Journal of Medicine called for an end to that ban, reporting findings that transplanted tissue can in fact help treat Parkinson's disease. President-elect Bill Clinton has promised to reverse the ban.
This man's incredibly close, comfortable shave comes from the Norelco razor. But to see how he got it, we must go back to when he began shaving, not just above the skin, but below it. Here, our lift and cut system lifts the hair so when it's cut, it can drop below skin level without the blades touching your face. Try it, and you'll keep going back to Norelco for a perfect shave. Norelco, we make close, comfortable.
California prunes are perfect for lunch. They taste great, they're easy to carry, and they're always in season. So you never run out of them.
Sweet, delicious California prunes. Find out how good they really are.
Mr. Coffee presents Potato Perfect. Real oven-baked potatoes in about 25 minutes. Potato Perfect by Mr. Coffee. What'll he think of next?
The Braun Oral-B Plaque Remover effectively removes plaque
a major cause of gum disease. It thoroughly cleans between each tooth and below the gum line for teeth so clean you'll feel it. The Braun Oral-B Plaque Remover.
When your sinuses are closing in on you, what you need is a sinus spray like Sinex. Only Sinex adds Vicks Vapors to its decongestant, so at last you can feel your sinuses open up. For sinus, think Sinex.
America close up tonight. As today's holiday travelers know all too well, our nation's highways can often seem like an obstacle course, even on the best of days. High on the hazard list these days, gasoline tanker trucks, which can become Molotov cocktails on wheels. NBC's Robert Hager begins his report tonight in Claremont, California.
2 days after Christmas, 1989, flames shot high into the sky above Claremont, California. A double tanker truck carrying gasoline jackknifed. A car behind skidded into the wreckage. The family of 4 inside was killed. Now, Bonnie Galaire wants to know why. Why her daughter, her son-in-law, her 2 grandchildren were lost in the accident.
I want to know why he didn't pull that truck over. He killed my family.
The California crash was not unusual. This accident just last month in Maryland killed 3. A study estimates there may be more than 600 gasoline truck accidents a year on U.S. highways. And of all the deaths involving trucks with hazardous materials, 97% are caused by gasoline tankers. Safety expert Gerald Donaldson.
50% of them roll over when they have an accident. 50% of them spill their contents, and in most instances, overwhelmingly, that's a combustible or flammable fuel or gas. And 1 out of 4 of them, when they do that, have a fire.
Part of the problem with tanker trucks, a high center of gravity. This University of Michigan film shows what can happen when a tanker truck turns too quickly or carries an unbalanced load.
A recent government safety report on tanker trucks suggests another problem may be the agency which regulates trucking, the Federal Highway Administration. The report says its rules to prevent gasoline from spilling from a tanker once it turns over may be inadequate and unenforced. The Highway Administration refused to be interviewed on camera.
Criticism comes just as the Highway Administration is thinking of weakening rules about rest for truck drivers, permitting them to drive 100 hours over an 8-day period, 20 hours more than currently allowed. This, in spite of investigators who say driver fatigue and rollovers are the 2 biggest factors in accidents. The organization representing tanker truck owners admits there are problems.
The bad guys out there. Why do the bad guys get loads? And that is because the nation's shippers, the people who put these hazardous materials in commerce, give them loads. Why do they give them loads? Because they're the cheapest.
But accidents don't always involve so-called bad guys. The driver in the Maryland crash had a good safety record, and so did his company. In the California accident, the driver who survived told investigators that as he was driving, he felt a dragging sensation well before the accident. Bonnie Galaire wants to know why he didn't stop.
Most of us, if we're driving our cars and we're having problems with our cars, we pull over to see what's wrong with it. But he didn't. Instead, he killed 4 people.
Is there a way to stop tankers from rolling over? One company has a truck with a low center of gravity to haul chemicals. It's state-of-the-art, but there's widespread reluctance by others to use it because of its cost.
If the trucking companies and the drivers and the general public won't take responsibility for it themselves, then there has to be tighter restrictions put on by the government.
Those who want tougher rules hope that's the route the next administration will take, so lives can be saved. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
I'll have more news. John Chancellor will have his commentary when we continue.
A kiss? No, I'm sorry. I don't think so.
Oh, no, please, no, baby, no.
Oh, not a good idea. Not now.
No, bad time.
Fight morning breath with Scope. Scope has 2 powerful ingredients that kill 90% of the bacteria that cause morning breath.
Your kiss is ready. Pucker up.
Right on the kisser.
Come on. Kiss morning breath goodbye with Scope.
Give me that kiss.
Why Centrum Silver? Because you're over 50 and you're just hitting your stride. Centrum Silver vitamins. Because the latest scientific research about changing nutritional needs after 50 is built in. Centrum Silver. It's a great time to be silver.
I have to admit, I'm a little surprised.
About what?
I just never thought I'd see you on anything but a BMW or a Lexus.
Me neither.
Airbag? Leather? This is quality. Expensive?
About 10, 15,000 less than the BMW or Lexus. I think it feels just as good.
What? Oh, there's Pontiac Bonneville. It's amazing.
Only Sears has great values on Craftsman tools.
Right now, this Craftsman 117-piece mechanics tool set with case and 3 quick-release ratchets is only $99.99. They're made in America, guaranteed forever.
You can count on me.
Norelco says don't shave your legs, baby them. With Norelco's incredibly close, comfortable shave that leaves you baby smooth, baby soft. Norelco Lady Shave Razors, dry or wet, we make close comfortable.
When Jeffrey catches a cold, we see the pediatrician.
I love my pediatrician. He's my dad.
We have a live-in doctor. He recommends Dimetap Elixir.
For colds, doctors recommend Dimetap for their families and yours.
NBC News has learned the U.S. Navy now says it was human error, not a technical mistake, when missiles fired last month from the carrier Saratoga hit a Turkish destroyer in the Aegean Sea. 5 Turkish sailors were killed. The U.S. ship's captain and several others will face disciplinary charges. In other news tonight, it's now official. Republican Paul Coverdale, winner in Georgia's runoff Senate election against Democrat incumbent Wyche Fowler. He won by just 16,000 votes. In Southern California, the first accident on the Los Angeles area's month-old rail line. One car derailed when the train hit a sanitation truck. The driver was killed. 12 commuters were injured. In Mississippi, a postscript to a tragedy. Funeral services for a father and his 7-year-old son killed Sunday when a tornado leveled their home. Also killed 2 Cub Scout friends on a sleepover. Time now for commentary. John Chancellor on Thanksgiving Eve, finding this a much different world these days. John?
Tom, remember how hopeful we were a few years ago when it looked as though the Cold War might come to an end? We thought we might finally move into the sunlit uplands of peace and prosperity. Well, as you may have noticed, it hasn't turned out that way. No peace dividends so far. The United States is only now coming out of a painful recession while Japan and Europe are still stuck in one. In fact, Western Europe is a complete mess. The drive toward a European community with a single stable currency is off the tracks. An epidemic of hate has broken out. Neo-Nazism in Germany, anti-Semitism in Sweden, Austria, Germany, and France, right-wing racism in Italy and Spain. What used to be Yugoslavia has descended into the most sickening barbarism since the First World War. This is not what we expected. It makes you wonder, did the Cold War keep these kinds of things from getting out of hand? Were Nazi skinheads unable to attract attention because the public was more worried about nuclear war? Did Soviet control of Eastern Europe help Western Europe move toward unity? Did the economic demands of the Cold War make it easier for Europeans to tolerate foreign workers in their cities? Was everyone better behaved when the enemy was over there behind the Iron Curtain and not just down the street? Well, who knows? But this is what we do know. The world we got when the Cold War ended is not the world we expected to get when the Cold War ended. Nevertheless, Tom, happy Thanksgiving.
And to you as well, John. By the way, on Wall Street today, news of the strong economic growth sent stock prices higher. Trading today was heavy.
Because all pain is not the same.
What the hell, where it hurts.
Now there's new aspirin-free Bayer Select. Yes, aspirin-free.
What the hell, where it hurts. With Bayer Select.
Bayer Select is not one, but 5 different aspirin-free formulas for sinus, headache, nighttime, menstrual, and arthritis pain relief. Because all pain is not the same.
What the hell, where it hurts. Bayer Select.
Congratulations, what do you think?
Chapstick medicated, please.
Introducing Chapstick Medicated, triple medicated. You can feel it working immediately. New Chapstick Medicated, triple medicated relief.
Here's a great big idea. From Presto, professional salad shooter slicer shredder. Big capacity and power. Special blades to point and slice thick, slice thin, shred, even ripple cut. Right where you want. From Presto.
Hi, can we see your Christmas tree?
My tree?
We heard about your tree.
I heard about
I want to see that tree.
Mister, can I watch your tree?
Watch?
The tree, yeah.
Wow, it turns.
Bring your Christmas tree to life with Noma Ornimotion, the little motors that turn ornaments into crowd pleasers.
May I see your tree?
Noma Ornimotion motors, available at Target stores.
In October, Chrysler Corporation introduced its cab-forward cars, the Dodge Intrepid, Chrysler Concorde, and Eagle Vision. By November, these cars, along with our Jeep Grand Cherokee and our Gold Standard minivans, had swept up award after award, including Automobile Magazine's prestigious Automobile of the Year. Today, the Chrysler Corporation is the most award-winning automotive company in the world.
On this Thanksgiving, New York is thinking about a lot more than the big Macy's parade. This Thanksgiving, New York is a city in racial turmoil, so threatening that today the mayor made a special television plea for healing. NBC's Bob Herbert tonight.
When Los Angeles burned last spring, New York stayed cool.
We've got a lot of people out trying to spread the calm now.
But keeping the nation's largest city under control is not easy. New York has had a long history of racial and ethnic tension. Now, once again, there are fears that the city is approaching a flashpoint. At times, it seems like everybody is at each other's throat. In September, thousands of police officers, most of them white, staged an ugly demonstration against the mayor. They opposed his effort to set up an all-civilian review board to probe complaints of brutality.
It's clear to me that the police officers were demonstrating misbehaved.
Racial slurs by the white cops provoked black cops to respond. Those tensions worsened when a black undercover cop was shot and gravely wounded by white cops who thought he was a hold-up man. Meanwhile, a mostly black jury acquitted a black teenager of murdering a Jewish divinity student during disorders in Brooklyn a year ago. The acquittal angered members of the Orthodox Jewish community who compared that case to the Rodney King verdict. This brought a new round of protests and more criticism of Mayor Dinkins.
I point the finger at the mayor of the city of New York.
There was almost a brawl in the city council when a Jewish member accused a black member of anti-Semitism.
I felt like slapping him into the next century.
Feelings have become so strong and nerves so frayed, the mayor went on television today to try and calm things down.
Token, I cannot allow a quiet riot of words and epithets to poison our citizenry.
The mayor called for calm and reconciliation.
Let us come together, all people of goodwill, irrespective of ethnicity or sexual orientation or religious background or political party and affiliation. Let's come together and try to save our city.
Bob Herbert, NBC News, New York.
That's Nightly News. I'm Tom Brokaw. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Tonight, an unsolved television event live. You've got 90 minutes to solve a mystery. Live. Call in. Capture fugitives. Reunite loved ones. Live. Unsolved goes live from locations across the country.
Unsolved Mysteries Live.
For the first time ever, it's all new Unsolved Mysteries Live. NBC tonight.
It's the stuff that makes Thanksgiving great. Big bands, balloons, superstars. Join Willard Scott and Katie Couric for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, Thursday.
We saw that we could move the windshield forward on a sedan and reduce wind noise while increasing visibility. We saw that moving the wheels toward the corners would result in greater stability and more passenger room. We saw that this cab-forward design is not only more aerodynamic, it looks like nothing else on the road. And now that we've seen what's possible on a four-door sedan, we can't see building one any other way. Intrepid. This changes everything.
he came from. But they knew what he wanted. Introducing AM/PM's hearty new BBQ rib. Flame broiled, smothered in barbecue sauce. It's one mean sandwich. At only 99 cents each, you can pack up a herd of them. No one knew where he came from, but they knew he'd be back.
Welcome. How did the incredible universe begin? In the beginning, there was a great void. Then, suddenly, a big bang. Followed by an incredible 160,000 square feet of space, which was filled with all of the electronics, computers, appliances, and music in the world, all at incredible low prices. Incredible universe. It's not just a grand opening. It's cosmically fun.
Incredible Universe, now open I-5 in Wilsonville.